This is Ukraine, a vast land of forests and grain, ravaged by centuries of conquest, still showing the scars today. Ukraine is famous for the world's worst nuclear disaster, suffered decades of Soviet oppression and a civil war. What on earth am I doing here? But there's one legacy left by its invaders which I want to explore. A vast 13,000-mile railway. Wow, that is breathtaking! I plan to travel from the border with the EU in the west to the shores of the Black Sea. It's a massive setup to find out why this region has been fought over for so long. Ah! Good night, Sweden. And now they're finally standing on their own 2 feet. Estonia. I think I'm in love. How are they getting on? I think we know why they've got 13,000 miles of railway in this country. Because the roads are dreadful. Expect the unexpected. Or is this a railway too far? I'm starting my Ukrainian expedition at a little place called Chop in the far west of the country. But I've been stuck at the border for hours. I don't really know what to anticipate on this journey. Behind me is Hungary, over there is Slovakia. We're now apparently, after 4 hours, it's nearly dark, inside Ukraine. I'm kind of expecting grey, drab old Soviet houses, really sullen, grumpy people, trains that are falling apart, and food that consists of every variety of cabbage. All I do know is that there's virtually nobody coming into the Ukraine and thousands trying to get out. And I've missed the last train. So, it's an early start for me. This is pretty amazing. This is the town station. It's really impressive. It's not at all Soviet. For 50 years, Chop was an important entry point into the Soviet Union. But when this station was built in the 1950s, they hadn't really got into the brutalist architecture the Soviets became famous for. This style has been called eclectic Stalinism, apparently. Sadly, though, it's completely shut, and I've got to go to another station, which is farther along there. This is more like it. Look at that. Really Soviet, really depressing. Perfect. My train looks a bit Soviet too. Skole? Thank you. Doesn't sound too promising, does it? That's my first Ukraine train. Possibly our last. Over the next 7 days, I plan to travel over 1,000 miles across Ukraine. From Chop, I'm heading north to the second largest mountain range in Europe, the Carpathians, where I hope to find a very special narrow-gauge railway. From there, I'll travel via Lviv to visit a place that has been declared the world's most romantic railway. Then it's on to Kiev to see some of the great edifices of the Soviet era, before visiting one of the most deadly places on Earth, Chernobyl. The Cold War fun continues in the south as I attempt to track down the country's last surviving nuclear missile base, before hitching a ride on a grain train to my final destination, the Black Sea port of Odessa. That's all assuming I don't get completely lost. I love this. I asked them to kit me out with a handy map of the Ukraine so I could kind of get me bearings. Look at this. It's actually bigger than the compartment. It's all in Cyrillic, which means I've no idea what it says. I think it's this way round. And there's 13,000 miles of completely incomprehensible, disjointed railways. I'm none the wiser. Hello. This nice quiet train is getting very crowded. Oh, we're off again. Let's see if I can find somewhere with a little more room. Pretty sure that sign means you can't come in. Oh, well. Hello, morning. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. I see going down a storm in Ukraine. At least the view's much better. Construction of this line began in 1872. It was to connect the Hungarian capital Budapest to the city of Lviv. Well, this whole area was part of the then Austro-Hungarian Empire. Cutting through the Carpathian mountains, the line has survived seismic changes. After World War I, this area was briefly independent, then part of Poland, then Soviet, and now finally independent Ukraine. It's always been an artery to the west, and it's a sign of the times that major EU investment has gone into rebuilding one section that was a bottleneck for over a century. This is the brand spanking new double-track Beskid Tunnel, over a mile long and a major boost to exports to the west. See another train coming on the other track now. And we're back out into the light. We're now in the heart of the Carpathians. Time to find that old narrow gauge line. So this is the town of Skole. S-K-O-L-E. I think I've done it justice. It's in the middle of absolutely nowhere. I'm looking for a railway called the Carpathian Tram, which does sound very, very old. Finding it might be easier said than done. I think we know why they've got 13,000 miles of railway in this country. Because the roads are dreadful. Oh, so many potholes. This railway had better be worth it. What? 2 bumpy hours later, deep in the Carpathian Mountains, I'm all set for a lovely afternoon riding what I imagine will be a beautiful old steam train up into the forests. I think this is it. This is definitely narrow gauge. So this is the railway. A bit unloved, all of it. Needs a bit of a mow, but it's okay. So we just need a train now, or a tram, or whatever it is. Oh dear, what is that? Is this it? Is this for real? The Carpathian Tramway arrives. Hello. How are you? Chris? How are you? Petro, like Peter. So that's like a sort of motorbike engine. Made in USSR, one of USSR's finest. Got the carriage to myself. It's like it's kind of park bench on wheels. Okay, my man, full speed ahead. It's a bit more basic than I was expecting. What it really needs is a buffet car and a nice gin and tonic. It may sound mad, but this really is a genuine heritage railway, dating back to 1890, when Austrian timber merchant Baron Leopold Popper von Predraghi laid just 3 kilometres of track to haul lumber from the forest to his factory. As the demand for Carpathian timber grew, so too did the railway. At its peak, it extended over 100 miles. Nearly half of that is still running today. I'm not quite sure why. What does it actually do? What's its function?
Використовується для заготівлі лісу, для туристичного трамваю, для лісників вивозять в ліс, бригади вивозять в ліс, простіше заготовляють, відходи у людей вивозять.
Petro, it turns out, is the track foreman. It's his job to maintain the line and keep the whole thing running for dozens of local people who live and work out here. So he's a very busy man. Okay, apparently we stopped. It's finished.
Все, я їду по роботі, зараз мій колега вас забере.
So I'm going to wait here.
Yeah.
You're going to go off to do what?
Сюди приїде і забере вас.
Pedro, thank you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll go and wait here. So, no stations, no timetables, no signalling, but I am assured real trains do run on this line. Maybe I'll get lucky second time around. Ah, now, here's my lift. Or maybe not. It's actually an old Ford Transit van, but somehow attached to the rails. This is how I get back down. Hello. Hiya. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Here we go. Down the Carpathians in style. Well, sort of style. What a strange day. If this is Ukraine's idea of a heritage railway, whatever next? I've got a feeling this is going to be rather an odd trip. I hope the brakes work. Day 2, I've arrived in the city of Lviv. And again, it's just not what I really expected. It's more like Vienna than Vladivostok. I am actually very confused. So I've signed up for a cultural tour with a local historian to find out what's going on. Hi, Chris. You must be Irena?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
How are
to
you?
meet you.
What a nice place.
Yes.
But I thought it was going to be more sort of grey and Russian.
This city has very long and interesting and also complicated history. These beautiful, really beautiful buildings hide the very painful story. Because before the Second World War, Lviv was a multi-ethnic city, but the Second World War changed everything.
Of all the wars and invasions that Lviv has endured, the city's darkest hour was the occupation by the Nazis. When they first took the city, many locals welcomed them as liberators from the Soviets. But then the Holocaust began, and 160,000 Jews, about a third of the city's population, faced brutal persecution. Irena is taking me to the site of a remarkable story of survival. So, where are you taking me now?
I'm taking you to the sewer under the city. In the
Down there?
sewer. Down there.
For shopkeeper Ignacy Chiga and his family, the only place to escape death was to hide in these sewers. This is awful. Smell. Oh, and there's a river down there.
Yes, it's a river, and actually it's very dangerous here.
Yeah, and I think we know what the river is carrying, don't we? Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's hard to imagine.
Just even coming down here, let alone living here. Surrounded by rats, disease and darkness, the family survived on tiny amounts of fresh water dripping down from a fountain above. So how long were the family down here?
14 months.
That's unbelievable, it's like over a year.
Yeah, they moved through this ledge above the river.
But the kids must have been terrified, they must have been crying.
They can't cry because they could be found.
Can we go?
Yeah.
It's a horrible story, but oh, it's a horrible place. Go on, you go. But please go quick. The family's survival was an extraordinary triumph of the human spirit, but they'd never have made it out alive without the help of one man.
He was Polish sewer worker. His name was Leopold Socha. He doing his job underground, and he found them. He was supplying them with food and other stuff, and Christina named him in her memory our guardian angel.
When Lviv was retaken by the Red Army, less than 1,000 of the city's Jewish population remained. Despite the 50 years of Soviet occupation that followed, this magnificent Art Nouveau station has survived and helps make this place feel really European. That's something I love here. You don't just go for a wee here, you go to the Hall of Enhanced Comfort. but sadly I've got about 30 seconds before the train comes. I haven't got time for any enhanced comfort. Rivna?
15.
Okay, thank you. I've no idea what she said, but she seemed a very nice lady. This train is taking me 130 miles east to Rivne, an unlikely location for Ukraine's apparently world-famous romantic hotspot. We're about to cross a major historical divide. In 1873, when this line was completed, it joined together two great empires, the old Austro-Hungarian Empire here in the west and the massive Russian Empire here in the east. So we're coming out of the European bit of Ukraine now and into the Russian bit now. It feels like a cause for celebration. This train is so hot and bouncy, but there's a bar. Hello.
Hello.
Do you have beer? Beer?
Ні, немає.
Vodka? Vodka.
Немає водки.
Gin and tonic?
Нет.
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 Nothing.
Бары уже давно не работают, а лично от себя можем вам предложить чай, кофе.
Chai? Tea?
Чай.
I'll have a cup of tea then, please. After a bit, me and the tea ladies are getting on like a house on fire.
Здоров'я.
Cheers, thank you.
Здоров'я.
What do you say?
Здоров'я.
Eslovia. I think I'm in
Здоровья.
love. I only came for a beer, but I think I'm in love. It seems that as I get closer and closer to my next destination, love really is in the air. So this is Rivne, another of these beautifully, elaborately decorated stations. Can't hang about though. I've got a hot date tomorrow with the world's most romantic railway line. Ah. Day 3. We're on our way to a place called Clavan. Apparently lovers of all ages, all shapes and sizes come here from all over the world to do whatever lovers do. Oh, I hate all that kissing and cuddling. Ah. Italy has the canals of Venice, India has the Taj Mahal, and Ukraine has this, the Tunnel of Love. Yep, it's a railway with a tree tunnel. But it is quite photogenic, and when a local photographer started posting pictures online, this place was transformed from a local haunt for young lovers to the world's most romantic railway. It's rather nice. There's couples everywhere doing selfies. There's all sorts of love notes and ribbons on all the trees. There is one thing missing. I've not yet seen a single train. The railway's actually owned by a plywood factory that's been here since 1887. I'm hoping they'll oblige me with a ride. Hello. Hi. Okay, let's go. So, if this is actually a working railway, what do the drivers think about its newfound fame? How many years have you worked on this railway?
28.
You would have been working this long before this Tunnel of Love. Suddenly you've got all these tourists and they're all kissing each other and walking on the line, doing selfies with the locomotive. What do you actually think of it?
Ну, трохи заважають, звісно, але не фотографуються дуже близько біля цього. Тут зарослі так, що можна попасти, скажімо, наїхати, він близько фотографується, близько тепловоза. Можна вагоном зацепити його.
Does it make you romantic?
Я не чувствую це, тут я весь час по цій дорозі їжджу, так що мені романтиком я це не чувствую просто.
You can see how the railway has shaped these trees as the train goes through. They form a natural, perfect arch. But also see how close the vegetation is either side of the railway. It doesn't leave much room for all those young lovers. I should lend the driver a hand. Morning. Mind the line, please. Get off the line, please. Get a room. Will you behave yourself? Just keep yourself to yourself. I'm sorry, you're going to get the siren. Will you please stop kissing? Stop that. Be careful. Mind the train. Mind the line, please. Are you will be killed. But the question remains, why here? How was this amazing tree tunnel created? Ironically, the real reason the Tunnel of Love exists is this secret Soviet army base. The trees weren't planted for love, but to keep their secret military activity from view. And now they're turning this secret base into a visitor centre and a wedding venue. Doesn't love move in mysterious ways? Tuh. Onwards. Kiev? Yeah. This is an overnight sleeper train that goes all the way to Moscow. I plan to hop off at Kiev in about 5.5 hours, just in time for dinner. Hello. Excuse me, can I sit? Sit down. Thank you. Oh, where are you going? Moscow? Long. I'm a bit worried about falling asleep and ending up in Russia. I go to Kiev. If I fall asleep, you slap, yeah, or water. Slap. Yeah. These ladies are Ukrainians who live in Russia, just two of millions with close ties across the border. This is Kiev. You don't need to slap me. I am awake. Thank you very much. You've been so nice. Thank you. Good journey. Good journey to Moscow. Oh. Bye-bye. Thank you. You're really nice. So, the capital. Kiev, supposed to be a really, really nice city. Unless you're a chicken. You see, tonight, chicken Kiev. I don't know why I bother. I don't know why I tried. Founded around 1500 years ago, several centuries before Moscow, oh, look at that. The ancient city of Kiev is widely regarded as the birthplace not only of Ukrainian, but also Russian civilization. There's a Russian proverb that says, if Moscow is the heart of Russia, then St. Petersburg is its head and Kiev is its mother. They obviously have a very different image of their mummy from the rest of us, because this huge Soviet monument behind me, showing a proud, terrifying female warrior ready for war, is supposed to glorify Mother Russia. She's facing towards Moscow, and it's known as the Motherland Monument. A few miles away, another monument is much closer to Ukrainian hearts. It was opened just a few years ago, as the country tried to come to terms with the darkest time in its history. This is a memorial to all those who died in a little-known but catastrophic famine that ravaged Ukraine in the 1930s. It's estimated that between 4 and 7 million people died. It's called the Holodomor. With its fertile soil and endless wheat fields, Ukraine was the breadbasket of Europe. So how could a famine on such an unprecedented scale have happened here? To find out, I'm meeting historian Nina Lepczynska. Nina, tell me about the famine. Was it a crop failure?
Ні, в той рік був гарний врожай, була гарна погода. І причиною голодомору було зовсім інше. Це була політична акція, злочин, який мав на меті знищити людей.
In 1929, Stalin introduced forced collectivization, which brought all privately owned farms and the crops they produced under state control. When the farmers resisted, his response was ruthless.
Коли Сталін дійшов до думки, що треба залякати селянство до такої міри, щоб воно вже ніколи не піднялося на боротьбу, прямо на полі забрати, щоб селяни навіть його не бачили. Забрали не тільки хліб, забрали все, що можна було їсти.
So while bumper harvests were exported to Russia and around the world, the Ukrainian farmers who cultivated the grain were literally starved to death. So, are you saying it was genocide?
Це дійсно неймовірно. Але так було. Була знищена третина українських селян.
These names on the stones here are not individuals that died, but entire villages that were wiped out. Thousands of them. It took a long time coming, but it's no small wonder that 60 years later, 90% of Ukrainians voted to become independent from the Soviet Union. But that may also have had something to do with the event that took place at the rather terrifying location I'm headed to next. 80 miles north of Kiev is the town of Slavutich. Almost everyone who lives here works in the same place, and most commute by train. Today, I'm going to join them. So I assume this was the station clock, but apparently it's a radiation meter. When do you ever get on a train having checked the radiation meter? The answer is when you're catching a train to a nuclear disaster zone. It's very busy, lots of early morning workers. It's quite interesting. You don't need to get a ticket because nobody in their right mind is going to go to Chernobyl unless they're working. No turning back now. This train is taking us into the heart of the Chernobyl radiation exclusion zone, where I'm going to visit the reactors and the original workers' town of Pripyat. I'm actually a bag of nerves, but everybody else looks pretty relaxed. Morning.
Morning.
I am Christopher.
I'm Alice. Nice to meet you.
How long have you worked at Chernobyl?
I have been working for 4 years already.
Do you worry at all about radiation?
No, I don't worry because it's no radiation nowadays.
Should I be worried? Because I'm worried.
Why?
Because I'm a big wimp.
You don't worry.
This railway line, dating back to the 1920s, is one of the main reasons the nuclear power plant was built here. Around 16 sites were shortlisted, but the fact they'd already gone to the trouble to build this rural railway tipped the balance in favour of Chernobyl. So that's Chernobyl. Wow, it looks enormous. It's a huge site. In 1986, the power station employed over 10,000 people. Today, thanks to one stupid mistake, 2,300 people still work here purely to clean it up. So many people, God. So this is it, nuclear reactor number 4. This is the one that for 10 days spewed out so much lethal radiation that all the surrounding area may well not recover for tens of thousands of years. Apparently it's safe for me to stand here because they built this huge concrete and steel arch, completely sealing everything in. When reactor number 4 exploded in the early hours of the 26th of April 1986, after a botched safety test, it caused the worst nuclear disaster the world had ever seen. 2 died that day, and 29 emergency workers died in the coming weeks, and thousands more are still dying from the radiation. But on the morning after the explosion in the nearby town of Pripyat, life continued as normal for most of the workers and their families, who were completely unaware of the invisible but deadly radiation that was raining down on top of them. So keen were the authorities to downplay the disaster that, according to some reports, they even ran the rides at the town's newly built amusement park that morning. The Kremlin kept tight-lipped about the disaster for 2 days, until abnormally high radiation levels were detected over Sweden, some 800 miles away. Only then did the authorities think they had to admit the truth to the rest of the world. When the evacuation finally got underway, residents were told they'd be back in their homes within a few days. But of course, they never returned. The town's train station was also abandoned. This has got to be the ultimate train graveyard. Behind me, tucked away in these woods, are all the locomotives, carriages, rolling stock that were working here on that fatal day. They were so contaminated by radiation, they've never ever moved a single millimetre since. But for all these stricken trains destined to rust in peace, the same is not true of the line itself.
Morning! Morning! Can I get up there? Welcome to train. Thank you.
This train has a really important role to play, but I've got serious misgivings about taking a ride. Oleg, what does this train carry?
Этот поезд перевозит отработавшее ядерное топливо, которое было в активных зонах реакторов наших. Топливо радиоактивное, и оно перевозится в специальном упаковочном чехле, который находится в вагоне-контейнере.
Over the next few years, this train's job is to carry 21,000 fuel assemblies, about 3,000 tons of radioactive waste, away from the reactors for disposal. So, are we carrying radioactive material behind us today?
Сейчас мы топливо не перевозим, это заявка нашего цеха, и это является технологической перевозкой на сегодняшний день.
Thank heavens for that. Of course, they can't just fly tip it. This is their brand new nuclear storage facility. So this is where the nuclear waste actually comes to, which is where the guys said the real work starts, but the whole place is so nuclear. Okay, I'm going in. Project director Steve White from Bury in the UK is going to show me where it all ends up.
That train will bring the nuclear fuel to be processed in the facility behind.
So it's all processed there?
All chopped and packaged, and then its final resting place will be in these modules here, which we can go and have a look at now if you like.
The clean-up operation has taken the cost of the accident to over $700 billion US. All because of that one stupid mistake. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's just like a giant laundrette. What is this?
This are what we refer to as the storage modules.
See, there's one already in there. So, would that be radioactive?
Yes, yes, it will be, but not too radioactive. I mean, you wouldn't want to stand there for hours on end. It's very thick steel and it's shielded, and there will be further shielding on the front of the door. But yes, there will be radiation coming out from that.
I feel kind of reassured now by guys like you, and but there's still that fear of coming here. It's a word that frightens people.
Yeah, and again, it's deceiving. As you probably came through the area, you would see that we've got trees all in bloom, wildlife is blooming. Radiation you can't smell, you can't see, you can't taste it. The area is still contaminated, and it needs to be respected, of course.
But how about me? Am I contaminated? So this is one final machine to tell me, basically, that I'm free of radiation. I hope I am. So put my hands flat, put my head against it. Yeah! Back in Kiev, I'm heading to the main station. Before I catch my train, I'm hoping to meet some of the soldiers from the civil war that has been raging across the east of the country between pro-Russia and pro-Western factions. This must be the place right up here at the top of the station. 24/7 this charity runs, and it's for soldiers who are just resting. They come back exhausted from the front, or they may well be kind of nervous on their way out to the battle zone. They have a cup of tea and a kind word while they're here. I think it's a great idea. Since the start of the conflict, over 10,000 people have been killed and many thousands injured. Sergei? Hey, how are you? Chris? Sergei, what do you think about this place? It runs 24 hours. It seems like a very good idea.
Це місце дуже потрібне для нас, для наших хлопців, так як воно вже дуже давно, так як йде війна. А так, тут добрі люди, тут і спілкування, і між своїми, і волонтери дуже допомагають, і спілкування психологічне. Тебе трошки міняється тема, і трошки, так як постійно на війні, трохи спокійніше, трошки починаєш забувати про це все.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The conflict doesn't look like ending anytime soon. But I'm heading in the opposite direction and at last on a fast modern train.
It's very smart, none of your old Soviet rubbish.
This Ukrainian-built train is whizzing me down to my next stop at Podilsk, before I continue to Odessa, my final destination.
At the height of the Cold War, Ukraine found itself at the forefront of the nuclear arms race. Fearing attack from the West at any moment, the Soviet Union hid 176 secret missile silos somewhere deep in the Ukrainian countryside, each one loaded with a nuclear warhead that could take out a Western city at the touch of a button.
If Ukraine had been an independent country at the time, it would have had the world's third largest nuclear arsenal.
When the Soviet Union collapsed, Ukraine agreed to denuclearize. So all their 176 secret missile silos were destroyed. Well, all except one.
And I'm going to try and find it. Craftily hidden in the middle of absolutely nowhere. I think this is it. There's lots of small stuff, and then there's this.
So this is one of the actual silos from where the rockets would have been fired. It's something like 37 meters down there.
And it was designed to fire one of these.
This absolute monster of a rocket is the SS-18, nicknamed Satan.
It can travel 11,200 kilometers, which meant it could hit anywhere in America. It carries the equivalent payload of 1,000 Hiroshimas. So where was it pointed at all those years? New York? Los Angeles? Swindon? To find that out, I'm going to need the help of the base commander-in-chief.
Helena!
Hello.
How are you, Chris?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Let's go underground.
Oh, good.
Good Lord, they didn't make nuclear missile chiefs like her in my day. Deep underground is the command bunker where the controls to the 10 silos on this base were manned 24/7 throughout the Cold War.
Ladies first. What a door!
Be careful.
Yeah, I'm being careful. Good grief. It's very dark.
Yes, I will switch on the light.
How far down is this thing going?
45 meters.
You're mad.
I'm beginning to feel just a little claustrophobic.
So how many people would be down here underground at any one time?
As usual, 2 people. Officer number 1, officer number 2. In case of the emergency, 6. 3 down and 3 here.
1 floor below, reserve red button pushers lay in wait.
You don't know how a person behaves who receives a real signal.
Yeah.
What if he doesn't want to press the button? He knows that so many people will die.
Yeah,
In
of
this case, the person on the ground receives the signal, takes the gun, goes upstairs, shoots and presses the button for sure.
Hang on. He knows he doesn't want to press the button.
Yes.
He's downstairs, he comes up with the gun, shoots him, and he presses the button.
Yes.
What about if the bloke with the gun doesn't want to press the button either?
They have 2 more people underground and 6 guns.
What about if 3 of them don't want to... That's scary stuff, though, isn't it?
It's really scary.
And all this technology is still operational 30 years later.
So let's launch the rocket.
What?
Let's launch the rocket.
No! Are you mad?
You will be officer number 2.
What if I say no, you have to shoot me?
Yes, I will.
Do I really? Well, where's the red button then?
The button wasn't red.
What?
Red buttons are only in the movies. Huge red round buttons. Your button is here.
You're mad.
My button is here.
You're very scary.
Ready? When I say pusk, push your button.
When you say pusk,
Yes.
push the button. Okay. Are we going to do a countdown?
Yes. 3, 2, 1, pusk.
Ah!
You can see on the screen we are going to launch all 10.
All 10?
Yes.
You're a maniac.
Roofs of the silos open.
What have I done?
10 rockets were launched.
Good night, Swindon.
From a missile silo, I'm heading to an entirely different kind of silo. This is one of the main reasons Ukraine has been fought over for so long. Grain. About 100,000 square miles of it. And right now, it's harvest time.
So the race is on now to get the grains out of the fields and down to the Black Sea ports.
After the horrors of Holodomor, today the country is once again trying to reclaim its mantle as the breadbasket of Europe. And I'm getting a ride on the grain train.
Ukrainian wheat has been making this journey for more than 150 years, but the whole relationship between the grain and the train is more important now than ever before. Last year, Ukraine produced 43.9 million tons of wheat.
Ukraine's rambling 13,000-mile railway network is a great way to transport it all to the ports, although it is rather slow.
So, I can either get the next long-distance grain train to Odessa, which apparently will take a couple of days, or I could get on this nice express train that'll get me there in time for lunch. This is my last train journey, and appropriately it's on one of Ukraine's first ever railway lines, built to join the grain-growing regions with the Black Sea.
I've come a long way since that Ford Transit van on rails. It's been an epic journey through a country of extremes.
Oh, what a nice train journey, and what a nice day. Odessa, right on the shores of the Black Sea. This is beautiful.
This country clearly has a bit of an identity crisis, but it's got a hell of a lot more going for it than I ever imagined.
If you ever doubted that grain mattered to Ukraine, just look at this. There are dozens and dozens of these humongous silos. Each one holds something like 6,000 tons of grain, and they're all brought into here from all over the country in grain trains, and they're shipped from here to all over the world. So what have I made of Ukraine? Well, the people have the most amazing spirit and courage considering the appalling atrocities they've suffered over so many years. And what have I done? I've been down a sewer, I've been on a love train, I've seen the world's most notorious nuclear reactor, and I nearly started a nuclear war. Where else on earth could you do all that?